to News and TV. I am Makanaka Masingana. We often talk about human rights, violations of human rights. What are human rights? Today I have the recently appointed new director of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Association, Mr. Dzikamai Bere, to talk and discuss about human rights and his association. Mr. Bere, welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Mr. Bere, our viewers would want to know, who is Mr. Dzikamai Bere?
Well, yes, I'm a human rights activist. I've been involved in human rights work since 2008, so I think it's for the past 10 years. But before that, I worked as a magistrate in Zimbabwe, and mainly what I found, what motivated me to ultimately get into human rights work is the level of injustice that you then realize as a magistrate or from the bench. You really don't have much power in terms of influencing the processes on the ground. So that's ultimately how I then decided to join civil society in 2008. And before I joined Zimrights, I was working for the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO. It's basically the same kind of work.
All right. So since joining the civil society, how has been your journey in activism?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I think now when I look back, it's a decade of human rights work. I joined the forum in 2008, particularly to run what was then called the Taking Transitional Justice to the People program. This was a program that followed the Johannesburg Symposium of 2003. The main idea was, if you remember, that was the time when there were talks between the opposition and the ruling party towards the formation of a government of national unity, and there were fears that the general people of Zimbabwe would be left out of such negotiations. So the Taking Transitional Justice to the People program was a way of trying to bring the people's agenda for transformation on the table, so that whatever people viewed as the key essentials for a political transformation process in Zimbabwe need to be on the table. And there were fears that when the global political agreement would be signed, it would be an elite pact. So we managed to, through the Taking Transitional Justice People program, to bring millions of Zimbabweans into a conversation which ultimately influenced the 2013 constitution and led to the establishment of the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission. And since then, we then worked towards making sure that the views of the grassroots communities find their way not only in the constitution, but in the implementation through different policies. And in doing that, that's when we then coordinated the National Transitional Justice Working Group that gave birth to the National Transitional Justice Working Group in 2014. So that was another side of the work that I've been doing, and now the working group has grown from about 46 organizations to 99 organizations that are currently, spearheading issues of national healing. But my other portfolio is the coordinator of the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum. If you follow from those days, we have been able to, increase the capacity of civil society to document human rights violations, because the forum is basically a coalition of 20 human rights organizations. So if you notice, it is during that period that we introduced the State of Human Rights report, which is Zimbabwe's most comprehensive appraisal of human rights that comes out annually. It was during the time when we also witnessed the transition, the political transition, and we issued the new deception report, which is an analysis of the government human rights record. So it's been a terrific journey for the past 10 years, and coming to Zimrights is more of a continuation of that journey, perhaps in a different workstation.
All right. So now, as the new director of Zimrights, what is your vision? Given that you have been in the field before, what is your vision of this organization?
Yeah. So my vision is to support the vision of the founders of this institution, which is basically to build a grassroots movement of ordinary people who care about human rights. Zimrights was formed in 1992. It's almost 3 decades of activism. It is on the foundation of Zimrights that many civil society organizations have been able to emerge. So it is Zimbabwe's oldest, biggest indigenous grassroots organization. So during, I think, my tenure as the director of Zimrights, I will have fulfilled, I think, my mandate if I am able to reconcile that original vision of a grassroots community, that is, grassroots communities that are empowered to be able to demand and claim their rights, because I believe that was the vision of the founders.
Okay, so having worked in civil society before joining Zimrights and now that you are at Zimrights, do you think Zimrights has done enough in advocating for human rights in Zimbabwe?
Yes. I salute the founders of the institution and my predecessors. Zimrights currently has got more than 265,000 members. So for you to understand what Zimrights is that this is an association of ordinary people who care about human rights, who decide to come together and believe that together they can do more for the protection of human rights. So if you build an institution and you have 265,000 people saying you want to associate with your vision, I think that's a great achievement, which my predecessors have done. But beyond that, Zimrights has over the years provided the bedrock upon which many civil society entities are built. For example, if you talk about documentation of human rights, the institutions, the organizations that are involved in documenting and monitoring human rights, they build their systems upon Zimrights structures. If you talk about observing elections, the organizations that do election observation, they build their systems on the foundation of the structures of Zimrights. Even if you go to independent commissions, the kind of human rights work they're doing, they are also building that on the foundation of Zimrights structures. I was with the working group before I came here, and when we did the Taking Transitional Justice to the People program, it was built upon the structures of Zimrights. So Zimrights has provided that bedrock, the foundation, upon which there has emerged a vibrant civil society.
Indeed, you have talked about a number of members who are subscribed to Zimrights. How strong are your structures in Zimbabwe, say in provinces? You have talked about being involved in elections. We have seen that during election times, there are violations of human rights through police brutality on citizens. How has Zimrights gone so far in these matters?
So the Zimrights structures are very strong. And the country has got 12 provinces. Zimrights has got 11 provinces, or chapters, if you may call. And in each of those provinces, there is a vibrant community structure of people who are involved in rights. I say they are strong because if you look at the interventions that civil society has been making in terms of assisting victims of organized violence and torture and being able to react rapidly and to respond rapidly to human rights violations, it is these structures that provide that support system for civil society to be able to help victims. So I would think that the structures are very strong.
Okay, so these structures in these 11 chapters you've mentioned, do they have enough resources and funding so that they can do their work, they can advocate for their human rights?
Yeah, so the issue of resources, I mean, it's an issue of the economy of human rights. And Zimrights, like any other organization, has taken a battering from the economy. Issues to do with donor fatigue, because this is an institution that is supposed to be, partly funded by the members themselves, because people actually pay subscriptions to be part of Zimrights. So there have been challenges with funding, and part of the work that we're doing is trying to find a sustainable resource mobilization strategy which allows the members to be able to contribute to the welfare of Zimrights, but also to just take note that much of the work that needs to be done in the structures may not require money. It will simply require capacity of the local communities to be able, to be there for each other, because the concept of I have Zimrights is basically linked to the Ubuntu concept, where you should be your neighbor's keeper. If you observe human rights violations happening, almost everyone now is armed with a cell phone. They can be able to document and be able to make reports.
Okay, we have seen the police especially brutalizing citizens, brutalizing vendors. Have you in any way made an effort to advocate for these Zimrights to make a change?
Yes. Our structures have been involved in advocacy, particularly at community level where violations are witnessed, and then we try to make use of the local systems to make sure that victims find remedy. Currently, we're running a program on constitutional literacy, and this is where we are speaking to communities, making them aware of their rights and what actions they can take in case that their rights have been violated. We also have got a running program in which we are linking our communities with national human rights institutions like the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission to capacitate the communities such that when violations happen, they know that they can report either to the police or they can file a report with the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. These are just some of the remedies that we're working with communities to respond to violations.
All right, besides the police, let's talk about basic human rights guaranteed in the Constitution. The citizens have the right to shelter, they've got the right to clean and safe water. These days, water is a problem, especially in Harare.
Yeah.
Clean and safe water. And that is very dangerous because it can cause diseases such as cholera, typhoid, and the likes. So have you been engaging the council or authorities so that citizens have clean and safe water in Harare?
Yes, as Zimrights, our focus on human rights is quite wide, and it includes all the rights that we are making reference to. Our approach is mainly grassroots based. So this is where the individual chapters who are able to document the kind of violations that are happening in their communities seek recourse at that local level.